What is going on, my beautiful friends and family, and welcome back to another episode of Does This Cause Acne? Now, in this series, you guys basically ask any question you want in the comments below, and I look at the previous video, grab about 4 to 5 questions, and address them in a single episode. This episode has some really interesting and some really unique topics and questions, so stick around because we're about to get into it. Okay, so this first question is from Don J, and he basically says, does dandruff aggravate acne if we have dandruff on the scalp, or if our scalp is oily, can increase acne? This is actually a really interesting question, and I had to do some research on this one because right off the bat, I have some thoughts on it that might be true, but I wanted to see if there was any information online that could help us get a better answer. So unfortunately, there's no scientific studies, which are my favorite on this topic, but I did find some interesting articles, and one is from Head & Shoulders, which is like the brand for dandruff shampoo, right? And this is what they said. In the case of dandruff, this oil known as sebum is broken down by a naturally occurring microbe, Malassezia globosa. In around 50% of people, this results in dandruff because they're sensitive to oleic acid produced by this process. In the article, they later say that acne and dandruff are both produced by having oily skin. Now here's another article, and this one is from Skincraft Laboratories, and they said oily scalp and dandruff. Dandruff can make your scalp oily. When the grease spreads to the forehead, it results in acne breakouts. Dandruff is one of the most common causes of forehead acne. So basically what it looks like to me is that there's no scientific studies, so we can't know for sure, but it sounds like basically if you deal with dandruff, you're also more likely to have acne, and this is just because both of them are caused by overactive sebum glands, basically your oil production. I would also probably argue that if you do have oil in your scalp, a lot of times that oil can make its way down onto your face just from sweating, just the same way how like shampoo or conditioner or leave-in products in your hair can also make their way onto your facial skin when you sweat. And I would probably also maybe argue that the dandruff itself could clog pores if you don't wash yourself, regularly, if you basically are allowing that dandruff to sit on your face for too long and basically cake up and clog your pores. So I would say that dandruff probably does cause acne, and or if you have dandruff, you're more likely to have acne. Okay, now question number 2. This is super unique. I've never had this question asked before. Enrico says, does vanilla extract or baking soda cause acne? Now, right off the bat, I did have a feeling on this one too, but I went and researched and looked around, and basically what I found is that no, vanilla extract does not cause acne, and neither does baking soda. And it really just boils down to if you have a personal allergy to either of those things, then they will cause you acne. But for the average person, there's no indicator as to why that would cause more acne. For example, you're not getting alcohol in a huge amount, you're not having something that has a high glycemic index, a lot of sugar or anything like that. So there really isn't any reason that those things would cause acne. Okay, now this next question is one that I've seen so many times in my own comment section, but also across the board in the acne community. And this is from Aaron. He basically says, does sleeping in the morning for 8 hours, but from weird hours, basically 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. cause acne? And so I've seen this question in many different variations, but basically people are saying, if I sleep at a weird time, if I go to bed really late, but I still get the same amount of sleep as if I was sleeping on a normal schedule, or somebody who is sleeping on a normal schedule, does that cause acne? Okay, so there's a few things to mention here, and this is a really good question. Now, first off, the amount of sleep that you get does determine whether or not you're gonna break out. So that's kind of a different thing. But for example, if you're sleep deprived, if you're getting 4 hours of sleep a night and you're doing it over and over and over and over and over again, you're probably going to see an increase of acne. There's a lot of different reasons because of this, but I would say that cortisol is probably one of the main ones, and cortisol is a stress hormone that basically when your body is mentally or physically stressed, for example, sleep deprivation, you're gonna have more of that cortisol, and people across the board will say that when they're sleep deprived, they see their acne increase. And cortisol in most people causes you to be more oily. It causes your sebaceous glands to be more active. There are a lot of other reasons as to why sleep deprivation causes acne, but what we're focusing on is, does it matter when you're sleeping as long as you're getting that sleep? And from what I've found when I research, basically the answer is no, it does not matter when you sleep as long as you get enough sleep in. Now, I would say that probably most of us would say that makes sense. It probably initially just hits and yeah, it makes logical sense. As long as you have the environment, maybe black out window sheets and stuff so that you can sleep just like, it is nighttime, then I don't see why it would really matter. There is a small group of people who will argue that the timing of your sleep really does matter because your body has this circadian rhythm that's aligned with the sun and the moon and all that kind of stuff. And again, what I would say is that if the environment that you sleep in can be mimicked to give you the complete peace and the complete darkness that your brain and your pineal gland and your hormones will react to, then I think it's no problem. So if you're able to sleep in a blacked out room and it's the middle of the day, basically graveyard shifting it doesn't matter as long as you're getting enough quality sleep. Okay, next question, and I think this is probably one of the best questions. This episode's filled with good questions. This one is, does vitamin B complex cause acne? So a lot of people will take a vitamin B complex because it'll get you all the different vitamin Bs from, B5 to B6 to B12. In general, it is roughly, it's probably a good idea. It helps you get the vitamins that you maybe are lacking, which really help keep your immune system strong. And the reason this person is probably asking this is because if you've been kind of keeping track with the acne world, you know that vitamin B5 got really big. A lot of people were mega dosing, taking a huge amount of vitamin B5 to see if it would help their acne. And a lot of people have seen huge progress and huge success by doing that. I've actually done a couple videos about B5, so make sure you check them out on my channel because it is really interesting looking at these people's stories and really looking at the science behind why B5 can help acne. Okay, but then you want to look at it from the other side is basically, okay, vitamin B5 has been shown to help a lot of people with their acne, but what about the other B vitamins that are in the complex? Do they work against that? Do they actually cause acne? And it's a really good question because the answer is yes. In a vitamin B complex, the one B vitamin that is most likely to cause you acne is vitamin B12. Now, we've seen a ton of people mention that when they started supplementing B12, they saw a huge increase in their acne. Now, the reason is that mostly when people supplement with B12, the amount of B12 that they get in either a sublingual pill or a liquid is not 100% of your B12, it's something like, 3,000 or 10,000% of your needed B12. Now that's a huge mega dose, and if you go and check, you'll see a ton of people say that when they started supplementing B12, they saw a huge amount of breakouts, a huge increase in their acne. And then when they tapered off or got off the B12, they saw their acne return to normal and they saw the acne subside. So basically with this one, I'm gonna say that yes, a vitamin B complex supplement pill can and may cause you acne. Every person is different to see how they react with that B12. Some people, like me, for example, I have B12 every single day and I never run into any trouble, but we basically know that B12 for some people causes acne. So I would say that you probably have to test this one out for yourself, but yes, it definitely can cause acne. All right, finishing off with a pretty simple one. This last question is from L Boy. He says, does protein powder cause acne? And if you've been following my channel and my Does This Cause Acne series before, you probably know what I'm gonna say. But if the protein powder is derived from dairy, whether that be whey protein or it's casein protein powder, you are probably going to see an increase in your acne. We have scientific studies that prove that dairy definitely causes, it's a correlated thing with acne. It increases your sebum production basically through this pathway called mTOR. And so when your mTOR is raised, your oil production is raised. And most people will see an increase in their acne from having dairy. Some people will get away with it just because they don't have enough mTOR to really see that increase in acne, but it does increase everybody's mTOR. And everybody has a different response as well based on how much lactase they have in their body, which is the enzyme that breaks down lactose. If you have less, you're going to see even more of an impact from dairy on your acne. Now, that being said, not every protein powder is dairy derived. There are egg protein powders, there are plant protein powders, there are a ton of different types of protein powders. I think there's even cricket protein powder, which really sounds gross. But the dairy ones are the biggest ones. The whey ones are the ones that people take the most. If you want to be completely safe, really, and make sure that you're not getting acne from your protein powders, but you still want to take protein powders to make sure you're getting the protein in. If you're maybe trying to hit some fitness goals, go with a plant-based protein. So whether that be just something simple like brown rice protein, it's super cheap, or if you want to buy a higher end one that's usually a blend and has some flavorings in it, that's also something that you can do. I actually am affiliated with a company called Vivo Life, and they make a super high quality plant protein. It's a little bit more expensive than the competitor brands, but it's because they do heavy metal testing. They have fermented protein, that way it doesn't digest in a weird way, it doesn't cause bloating. I personally switched to plant-based protein a couple years ago, and it really helped me, and that's why I jumped on with Vivo Vivo. So if you want to use my code, you can. It's Brian10, get you 10% off. Put a link in the description below. But plant-based proteins are going to save you from having that extra acne when you want to have, you know, a supplement that gets you extra protein in. Just stay away from the dairy. All right, and there we have it, you sexy people. The second episode of Does This Cause Acne? I'm super stoked to bring this series back. I definitely want you to drop another question in the comments below. Ask me anything about if anything causes acne, and it might be in the next episode. If you guys enjoyed the video, give it a big old thumbs up. Let me know what you thought about all this, and if you have anything to add in the comments below, subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Check out my favorite skincare brand. It is Banish. Brian5 will get you $5 off an order of 50 or more. The best products in the freaking industry. Check it out. Put a link in the description below. And remember, you are not alone. You are beautiful, and you're part of Team Acne. I'll see you guys in the very next video.